I'm gonna watch the debate and then I'm gonna vlog about it.
Magandang gabi po, kapamilya!
And that's it. That's the last debate. The debate is done. And now, see if I can. Just a while ago, at around 10 o'clock, the presidential debate in the Philippines was held, and it's the last one. It's the last debate. It's the third and final debate. The format was a bit different than the first two that we watched. They call it the town hall format. Alright, it's much slower than the first two debates. In the second debate, everyone was just pounding on each other, attacking each other, sometimes in the correct way, sometimes in an incorrect way, personal, platform wise, it depends, right? But let's stick to the debate just now. I wanna assess, the platforms that they have presented in that final debate using a guideline that we use in assessing a very good theory in the theories of personality. So there are 6 different criteria to assess a theory, and I'm gonna apply these criteria in the platforms of the 5 presidentiables that joined the debate. The first one is it generates research questions, which means it brings about issues that can be tackled and therefore it can be solved. The second one is falsifiability, which means it can be proven wrong. That's a good theory. The third one is that it organizes data, which means a huge amount of data, a huge amount of information, it can be organized. A theory can organize that. A platform can organize that. The fourth one is that it guides action. In this case, this is applicable for the things that the platform can actually solve, so it will guide action. The fifth one is that it's internally consistent, which means within the platform, they are always consistent. They always follow what they have said at the very beginning. And the last one is that it must be parsimonious, which means it can be easily understood, or it can be broken down into a comprehensive yet understandable theory. These are the characteristics of a good theory. Now, let's apply that to the platforms of the 5 presidentiables. I will state the criteria and try to say which platforms are better in a specific criteria. The first one is generates research, or in this case, generates issues. Which among the candidates were generating issues? We're talking about actual real problems that can be solved. So in my own opinion, I think the one that generated a lot of issue, I think the people who generated issues are Poe, Miriam, Santiago, and Duterte. These 3 people talked about a few more things other than the ones asked to them. So they were asked a question and then they responded, and then they presented more questions, more issues that actually needs to be solved. So in that case, Poe, Miriam, and Duterte scored. Alright? I don't see that happening with Mar because he's talking about things which are already okay and must be continued. For Binay, the same thing. Binay is very optimistic. He just say, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna win it. But then whether or not he raised issues, I'm not sure about it. Next, falsifiable. In this area of falsifiability, I only give it to one person. I only give it to Duterte. Simply because he was able to say I'm gonna end this, this, and this, and it can be falsified. It can be falsified quite easily. So if it doesn't end, criminality doesn't end in 3 to 6 months, that means it's falsified easily. So you can test the theory, you can test the platform. As for the others, it's very difficult for us to judge. How are we going to assess if the one sitting in Malacanang is successful or true to whatever he said in the debate? Okay, if I ask you this question, how will you know if that president is not functioning well? I don't know the answer to Miriam, to Poe, to Binay, and to Rojas, but I do know how to assess if Duterte is not functioning. I'll say 6 months already and I'm still afraid to walk on the streets. So falsifiability, we give a score to Duterte. Next, organizes data. I give this to Miriam Defensor and Mar Rojas. Mar Rojas always present things in such a way that he organizes all the statistics. Maybe because he's incumbent, but he was able to gather all these data and present it to you. So he was able to actually organize data. And the same thing is for Miriam. I think Miriam is still very sharp when it comes to working, when it comes to writing down. On this final debate, we all saw the cringe-worthy pauses. But again, I go back, organizes data, I give it to Mar Rojas, and I give it to Miriam Defensor Sancha. Next, guides action. Which among these platforms will help people or departments or governments guide action? I have to give it to two people. I have to give it to Mar Rojas and Duterte. Duterte is clear. To me, it feels like he knows where to go. The challenging part is that Duterte somehow answers the question when it comes to guiding actions quite reactively. So you don't feel like there's a proactive way. To Mar Rojas, it's guides action, gives him a point, because simply he just intends to continue what he calls as the matuwid na daan. He said the foundation is already built, let's continue it. For Duterte, it's maybe a 180, and that is we have to change government, we have to use the federal form of government, improve the police. Those, I think, are important things that talks about guiding action. For the fifth criteria, internal consistency, for the internal consistency, it's very tough to give them these remarks. So far, I feel like nobody really went off tangent when it came to them saying about their platforms. Duterte is being asked about, he says this, then says another one. So I'm definitely not giving internal consistency or consistency to Duterte. I might give it to Mar Rojas because he's just been saying we're just gonna keep on doing what we've been doing already. Binay is just giving a lot of promises. I'm not sure. For Poe, the thing that I don't really like about Poe, it's difficult to assess her in terms of consistency because she uses a lot of metaphors that sometimes they go off, so that's making me have a difficulty in judging. For Miriam, it has always been like policy, whatever. I like how she started by saying it should be the rule of law and not of the rule of men, which means there are proper ways to do things. I didn't see her perform on the second debate because she was not there. So that makes it difficult for me to assess. I still have to give someone internal consistency. Maybe I give it to Mar Rojas. And the last one is parsimony or parsimonious or simplified. Who among them has the most simplified platform? And I tell you what, bar none, I feel, to me, that Duterte has the most parsimonious of all five. You can go to anyone, any Filipino, and you ask them right here, right now, who is Duterte, and they're going to tell you that he is the presidential who wants to stop crime and criminality and drugs and corruption. All of them wants to stop all these negative things, but not as bad as Duterte. So that makes his platform parsimonious, and I think that's the main reason why Duterte is leading the ratings and why everybody else is just a distant second. In theories of personality, if you are given two equal theories, the principle of parsimony, which means you're given two things, they're both the same in almost everything, but one which is more simplified, you have to use that theory. And I think this is what is happening in the minds of the Filipino people, or I can only speak for myself. I think this is what is happening, but those are just my 2 cents. Who are you voting? Or are you voting? If you're not voting yet, it's fine. But people who are voting, I feel The silver lining of these elections is that for people who are simply it's their first time to vote. You know why? Because you are given so much power. You will now be equal to what a CEO can say. On May 9, you and me and everybody else only accounts for one person. It doesn't matter how much you have inside your pocket. It doesn't matter if you graduated PhD or if you didn't even study elementary, you are only counted as one person. If you feel a specific pressure inside you to make the right decision or to make the right choice, that is a very good exercise of how you make decisions for yourself. So I think whoever you wish to vote, whoever, I just see you walking out of the prison, you should be happy at that day because you were able to exercise your right to vote. Comment below about who you think people should vote. You don't need to be 18 and above to comment below. So thank you very much for watching this vlog, and I hope you enjoyed the content.